You wake up, no messages, no calls, no plans, just the silence. It lingers a bit too long, and in that space a thought creeps in. Does anyone even notice I'm gone? That's the wound no one talks about. Not the lack of company, but the fear of being irrelevant. And most men, they run from it. They scroll, they swipe, they send that text. Not because they're weak, but because they're conditioned to fear solitude. But what if that silence isn't a void? What if it's a forge? Today, we're not talking about loneliness. We're talking about transformation. What happens when a man chooses to stay single? Not because he gave up, but because he chose to build something deeper. This is for the men who are done pretending, done performing, done chasing. Before we begin, type this in the comments. I choose silence to master myself. Not for attention, but because it's time. Let's begin. Part 1. The pain no one sees. Most men don't fear being alone. They fear the mirror that comes with it. Because when the noise stops and the crowd fades and the text threads fall silent, what you're left with isn't peace. It's reckoning. The silence that fills the room doesn't just echo emptiness, it reflects truth. The truth about the chances you blew, the woman you let down, the job you stayed in too long, the friend you never stood up for, the version of yourself you swore you'd become but never did. It all rises, one memory at a time. No filters, no distractions, just you, alone with the echo of your own life. And this is the moment where most men collapse. Not because solitude is unbearable, but because what solitude reveals is, it shows you how much you've compromised just to be accepted. How often you said yes when you wanted to scream no. How many times you laughed when you were dying inside. How long you stayed silent when you should have spoken. And worse, how you've convinced yourself that it was noble. This is the real cost of fitting in. It's not just that you lose time, you lose yourself. And here's the cruel irony. The world praises you for being easygoing, low maintenance, chill, but inside, you're suffocating. And the only time you even begin to notice is when the world finally grows quiet. So the man sits alone, the lights are off, the room is still. And for once, there is no performance, no woman to impress, no boss to obey, no social media to mask behind, just raw, unfiltered you. This is the furnace, the place where identity either burns away or is reforged. But here's the twist. If you don't run, if you stay with the silence, something begins to shift, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. The ache in your chest that once felt unbearable, it becomes a teacher. It shows you what you truly value. It exposes the lies you've sold yourself to survive. The guilt, it becomes a compass. Not to shame you, but to point you back to the man you promised to be. And something remarkable begins to happen. You stop blaming, you stop numbing, you stop needing an audience to feel valid. You start owning, you start questioning, you start facing. The man who stays in this fire, who refuses to flinch, who resists the urge to distract himself, he evolves. Not all at once, and not without scars, but piece by piece, breath by breath, he rebuilds. This isn't spiritual fluff. This is war. A war against everything you've avoided, everything you've denied, every compromise you've labeled necessary. And on the other side of that war isn't perfection. It's clarity, it's power. It's a man finally able to look in the mirror and say, I see you, and I'm not ashamed anymore, because he's done hiding. Part 2. The shift into power. See, society says a man alone is a man lacking. That if you're not dating, not posting, not showing off some kind of conquest, then something must be wrong with you. You're either bitter, broken, or weird. But here's the truth they don't want to admit. Solitude threatens the system. Because a man who doesn't need approval is a man they can't manipulate. A man who isn't chasing validation is a man who can no longer be sold false desires. You see, there's a reason stillness is feared. It's not because it's empty, but because it's powerful. Society runs on distraction. It depends on you feeling restless, inadequate, always just one click or one compliment away from finally being enough. But the Stoics knew better. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That's not poetry. That's a battle strategy. When a man sits with himself long enough, the cravings begin to dissolve. The cravings to impress, to belong, to chase. He starts to notice the difference between what excites him and what truly fulfills him. He sees how much energy he used to waste, trying to be liked, trying to be understood, trying to fit in, and then he stops, not out of rebellion, but out of clarity. He no longer begs for attention because he's found something better, attention to self. He stops performing because he no longer sees life as a stage. He starts refining instead of reacting, editing instead of explaining. His time becomes sacred, his standards sharpen. His schedule isn't filled with noise, it's filled with intention. He doesn't go to every event, doesn't respond to every message, doesn't smile on command, because now he understands. Being everywhere means being nowhere. And here's where the shift becomes magnetic. His eyes, once scattered and searching, no longer chase, they see. He sees through people's masks. He sees the manipulation behind flattery. He sees when a woman is testing him, not because he doubts himself, but because he knows his worth isn't negotiable. And that sight, that unshakable stillness in the way he looks at the world, that's presence. Presence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. He walks into a room and people feel it, not because he demands attention, but because his energy commands it. He moves slower, but with purpose. He speaks less, but every word lands like a hammer. He becomes a presence that people remember, not because of what he says, but because of what he doesn't need to say. And here's the paradox. The less he needs others, the more others are drawn to him. Not because he's trying to attract, but because people are starving for authenticity, for something real, for someone who isn't playing a part. And when they find a man like that, unmoved by trends, untouched by shallow praise, they gravitate. Because in a world of noise, silence is rare. In a world of followers, sovereignty is irresistible. But let me be clear, this power isn't built overnight. It's forged in moments when no one's watching, in the discipline of choosing solitude over meaningless company, in the strength to say no when yes would be easier, in the commitment to live with fewer, deeper principles instead of many shallow compromises. And most importantly, it's built in the decision to stop outsourcing your worth, to stop letting women, followers, bosses, or society dictate what makes you valuable. Because when you cut those strings, when you stop dancing to their music, something ancient awakens in you. You become less reactive, more intentional, less desperate, more discerning. And over time, you become the man who doesn't need the spotlight because he's already lit from within. That is self-command, and it can't be bought. It can't be taught in a weekend course. It can't be faked on Instagram. It must be earned alone, in the quiet. And once you have it, no one can take it away from you. If what you're hearing resonates, pause for a moment. Hit that subscribe button. You're not just helping us create more powerful content. You're joining a movement of men who are done chasing and ready to become. Thank you for walking this path with us. Part 3. The Rise of the Stoic Man. He no longer texts just to stay in someone's mind. He no longer laughs at jokes that insult his soul. He no longer shows up where his spirit doesn't belong. Why? Because he's no longer available for approval. He's no longer addicted to attention. He's no longer willing to betray himself for connection. He sits, he observes, he builds. His life isn't a performance, it's a project. And he's the architect now. Solitude burned away the layers that weren't him. The people pleaser, the silent sufferer, the desperate lover. All gone. What remains is someone real, rooted, clear, relentless. He's not the loudest voice in the room. He's the quietest one with the deepest weight. He doesn't interrupt, he listens. He doesn't argue, he understands. And when he speaks, it's not for attention. It's because he has something to say. He doesn't chase women. He doesn't need to. His energy tells the truth before he says a word. He attracts differently now. He attracts those who are ready. Those who value substance over style, presence over pretense, reality over performance. Respect follows him, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. He doesn't seek validation anymore. Not from her, not from them, not from the crowd, because he's already approved of himself. He knows who he is when no one's looking. And that kind of certainty? You can't fake it. You can't manufacture it. You have to become it. And when life tests him, and it will, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't run. He doesn't explain. He doesn't spiral, because he's already faced the deepest storm himself. He's wrestled his demons. He's sat with regret. He's wept in silence. He's rebuilt from ruins. And now he walks through fire like it's just weather. So if you're single, stop apologizing for it. Stop calling it a phase. Stop pretending it's a waiting room for something better. It's not a delay. It's the design. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Because while others distract themselves with noise, you're doing what they fear the most. You're becoming the kind of man that doesn't break. A man who doesn't crumble under silence. A man who doesn't fold under pressure. A man who doesn't chase breadcrumbs of attention because he's baking something bigger. Within, you're not just surviving your solitude, you're thriving in it. Growing roots while others float. Training in stillness while others scramble. Building something permanent while others chase what's trending. And when they look up, they won't see the same man they left behind. They'll see someone unrecognizable, not because you've changed everything, but because you've refined everything. So again, type it below. I choose silence to master myself. Say it like a vow, not to impress anyone, but to mark this moment, to declare you're done performing, you're done chasing, you're done bending. Because real strength isn't loud, it doesn't need to be. It's silent, stoic, unshakable. It moves differently. It doesn't compete, it creates. It doesn't dominate, it commands. It doesn't react, it responds with clarity. And in this silence, you don't disappear. You don't fade. You don't become less. You become more. You become undeniable. You become unforgettable. Not to everyone, but to the right ones. And most importantly, to yourself. Practical tools. How to forge yourself in solitude. You've heard the philosophy. You've felt the shift. But now let's talk about practice. Because wisdom without embodiment fades. And solitude, when used right, is not passive. It's the ultimate training ground. 1. Morning stillness ritual, 10 minutes daily. Start each day not by grabbing your phone, but by grabbing your inner compass. Sit upright. No music, no noise, just your breath. Let your thoughts come, but don't follow them. Ask yourself only one question. What kind of man do I choose to be today? This isn't about motivation, it's about programming your identity. Let your mind settle into clarity. That 10 minutes will influence the next 16 hours more than you realize. 2. The Stoic Journal, evening integration, 15 minutes. Every night before bed, write down 3 things. What did I do today that honored my values? Where did I act from fear or neediness? What can I refine tomorrow? Marcus Aurelius journaled. Seneca wrote letters. You're not above it. Your mind is a battlefield, and writing is how you sharpen the sword. 3. Energy audit. Cut 1 drain per week. Look at your environment like a general inspects his troops. Ruthlessly ask yourself, what drains me but brings no return? Maybe it's mindless scrolling. Maybe it's that group chat filled with sarcasm and gossip. Or a dating app you check out of boredom, not intention. Cut 1, just 1 per week. You don't need a revolution. You need momentum. 4. The power of the no contact rule with everything. Don't just use no contact with a woman who hurt you. Use it with anything that pulls you back into who you used to be. That could be people, old habits, even parts of your self-talk. You are not obligated to respond to everything that pings you. Silence is your boundary. Use it as a weapon. 5. Cold exposure and physical discomfort training. Discomfort builds command. Every few days, do something physically uncomfortable. A cold shower, a tough workout, a fast. Not for pain, but for proof. You're training your nervous system to sit with resistance, so when life hits, you don't fold. Pain becomes practice, and practice becomes peace. 6. Build 1 personal philosophy rule per month. Don't just consume content. Craft your code. 1 line, 1 sentence. Like, I do not react emotionally to what I cannot control, or I choose clarity over comfort. Write it, speak it, repeat it. This becomes your foundation when emotions rise, when women test you, when life throws its punches. 7. Do hard things without telling anyone. In a world obsessed with documenting, become the one who doesn't need to be seen. Wake up early, meditate longer, learn a new skill, but don't post it, don't brag. Mastery happens in silence, and that silence becomes your shield. This is how the Stoic Man is built, not just through philosophy, but through process. Not just with mindset, but with motion. You can't wait for life to give you strength. You have to forge it, alone, deliberately, consistently. Let others fill the void with noise. Let them chase comfort. You train, you journal, you breathe, you build. And when the time comes to step back into the world, you walk out with something no one can fake. A man who's been to war with himself and came back forged, not broken. If this message struck a chord, don't just click away. Let it settle. Let it echo. Because transformation doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the pause that follows the truth. What is one habit you're ready to break in your solitude? Is it the habit of checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping for validation? Is it over-explaining yourself to people who never truly listen? Is it saying yes when every part of you is screaming no? Write it down. Declare it. Because healing begins where honesty begins. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't need 100 likes to matter. You need one thing: alignment. When your words match your actions and your actions match your values, you stop performing and you start leading. Not others, but yourself. And if you're still here, if you're still listening, you're not like the rest. You're not chasing another 30-second dopamine hit. You're hungry for something deeper, something real. You're building the man no one sees coming, the man who doesn't need approval, applause, or permission. So hit like, not because you were entertained, but because something inside you shifted. And subscribe if you're ready for more than just motivation. This is where we train in silence, where we rise without noise, where we build strength the Stoic way, from the inside out. Because here at Stoic Spirit, we don't chase what fades. We don't bow to trends. We don't perform for likes. We lead, we endure, we become,